All refused to marry the disabled alien princess, except this human. The bioluminescent rain of Arcturus Prime pattered against the dingy window of Barrett's rented room, casting eerie blue shadows across his scarred face. He cleaned his pulse rifle methodically. The weapon disassembled on the worn table before him. When his communit chirped with an encrypted transmission, few people had that encryption key. "Mercer," he answered, using his professional surname rather than his give name. "The Galactic Security Guild has a contract that matches your specific skill set." The voice belonged to Jarvis, his handler for the past 5 years, high-risk protection detail. "Royal client, triple your usual rate." Barrett's hand stilled on the barrel of his weapon. "I don't do babysitting jobs. This isn't ordinary royalty. It's the Valerian Crown Princess." The Valerian, a warrior race renowned throughout the galaxy for their combat prowess and rigid honor codes. Their silver-scaled bodies and imposing 7-foot frames made them natural soldiers, and their empire spanned 3-star systems. "I thought the Valerian considered human security about as useful as a screen door on a submarine," Barrett said, resuming his work on the rifle. "Circumstances have changed. Princess Zara has specifically requested a human." Barrett raised an eyebrow. "Why? She was injured in battle 3 cycles ago, took heavy fire during the Proxima Centauri conflict. Her spine was severed." Jarvis paused. "They replaced it with cybernetics, and Barrett failed to see why this necessitated his involvement, and in Valerian culture, cybernetic enhancements are considered impure, especially for royalty. All potential suitors from allied species have rejected her marriage proposals. Some wouldn't even enter the same room." "What does this have to do with security?" "Death threats increasing in frequency. The royal family believes someone wants to eliminate her before the succession ceremony. Next month." Jarvis's voice lowered. "They've requested you specifically because of your file. 15 years of combat experience. 7 as a mercenary. And the Den Before incident." Barrett's jaw tightened. Few knew about Den Before. A hostage situation gone wrong, that had ended with him carrying an ambassador's daughter through a war zone with 3 plasma rounds in his leg. The fact that the Valerian knew suggested they'd done extensive research. "I'll transfer the details." Jarvis continued. "Transport leaves in 6 hours. The connection cut before Barrett could respond. Typical. He reassembled his rifle with practiced deficiency, mind already calculating what equipment he would need for a royal protection detail on Valkyria. The royal palace of Valkyria was carved from a single mountain, its crystalline spires reaching toward twin crimson moons. Barrett, dressed in his formal mercenary blacks, was escorted through corridors lined with battle trophies from 1,000 worlds. Guards in gleaming silver armor watched him with obvious disdain, their scaled faces impassive, but their posture communicating everything. A human protecting Valerian royalty was practically sacrilege. The throne room doors, 20 feet of polished obsidian, swung open silently. Inside, a heated argument was already in progress. "Your Highness, this is beneath your station." A tall Valerian male with elaborate rank markings on his armor was gesturing emphatically. "A human bodyguard. The court already whispers about your condition." "My condition saved 12 of our warriors on Proxima Centauri, Lord Vexus." The voice was female, resonant and clear, with an edge of steel beneath its melodic quality. "I will not apologize for surviving." Barrett's gaze found the speaker, and despite his years of battlefield discipline, he nearly faltered in his stride. Princess Zara stood beside a tactical display, one hand braced on the table's edge. She was shorter than the average Valerian, perhaps 6½ feet tall, with silver scales that caught the light like polished armor where most Valerian had ridged crests extending from their foreheads. Hers was adorned with delicate crystalline growths that formed a natural crown. Her features were sharper, more refined than the males of her species. But what caught Barrett's attention was how she moved as she straightened to her full height. There was a subtle mechanical precision to her motion, a barely perceptible whir of advanced cybernetics replacing what had once been an organic spine through her fitted armor. He could see the faint glow of power conduits running along her vertebrae. "Your mercenary, Barrett Mercer." "Your Highness," announced the guard, who had escorted him. Every eye in the room turned to him. Barrett approached and inclined his head, not a full bow, but enough to show respect without subservience. "Princess Zara," he said, meeting her gaze directly. Her eyes were startling vertical pupils surrounded by irises the color of molten gold. They assessed him with the calculating efficiency of a battlefield Commander evaluating a weapon you survived den before with minimal equipment and a critical injury. She said without preamble, you faced Krell berserkers in close combat and walked away. You've extracted high-value targets from 17 hostile environments. She circled him slowly, the subtle mechanical wear of her spine, the only sound in the silent chamber, yet your file indicates no prejudice against cybernetic enhancements or alien physiology. Metal or flesh makes no difference to me, Your Highness, Barrett replied. Evenly. I judge by actions, not appearances. A ripple of disapproval ran through the watching quarters. Lord Vexus made a sound of disgust. See how the human speaks to you. No proper respect for your royal blood. Perhaps because he sees more than just blood and title, Zara countered sharply. She stopped directly before Barrett, her golden eyes narrowing. Can you protect me, human, even if it means standing against my own people's prejudice? Barrett held her gaze unflinchingly. I don't take contracts I can't fulfill, Your Highness. The princess's mouth curved into what might have been a smile, revealing the edges of sharp predatory teeth. Good. She turned to address the room. Barrett Mercer will serve as my personal security until after the succession ceremony. Any objections will be taken as objections to my royal authority. Lord Vexus' scaled features tightened with barely controlled fury, but he bowed stiffly. As you command, cousin. I only hope your unique choices do not further damage your standing after the court cleared. Zara gestured for Barrett to follow her to an adjoining chamber, a private training arena lined with weapons from dozens of worlds. They think you cannot protect me, she said, selecting a blade from the wall. They think my spine makes me weak in one fluid motion. She spun and hurled the knife, embedding it in a target dummy across the room. The movement was perfectly executed with no sign of limitation. I will show them how wrong they are. Barrett watched her with newfound appreciation. This was no pampered royal hiding behind hired muscle. This was a warrior. I'm not here to judge your capabilities, princess. He said, I'm here to keep you alive. And if I expect my protector to keep pace with me in combat. She retrieved another blade, offering its hilt to him. Challenge sparked in her golden eyes. Barrett accepted the weapon, testing its weight. Then I won't disappoint you for the first time. Her expression softened fractionally. We shall see, human. We shall see. The grand reception hall of the Valerian Palace glittered with the light of 1,000 bioluminescent crystals. Dignitaries from 7 allied systems mingled beneath vaulted ceilings that displayed holographic recreations of famous Valkyrie and battle victories. Barrett stood 3 paces behind Princess Zara, his posture relaxed but his eyes constantly scanning the crowd. 3 days into his assignment, and he was already developing a profound distaste for royal functions. The Soran ambassador approaches from your right, he murmured into the subvocal community. He's brought his son. Zara's posture stiffened almost imperceptibly. Ambassador Krell and his son, Tarks, she confirmed without turning. 6th potential suitor this month. Barrett watched as the reptilian ambassador glided forward, his scaled son following with the distinctive swagger of warrior aristocracy. Like most Saurians, they stood nearly 8 feet tall with powerful towels and ceremonial blades strapped to their forearms. Princess Zara, Ambassador Krell performed an elaborate bow. May I present my son Tarks, decorated veteran of the Outer Rim campaigns and heir to the Soran Third House. Zara inclined her head with perfect royal poise. The Valerian crown welcomes you both. Tarks stepped forward for the traditional greeting. As he did, the ambient light caught the subtle glow of Zara's cybernetic spine through her formal armor. The Soran heir froze, his reptilian eyes widening. You truly are, he stammered, taking an involuntary step backward. Enhanced, Zara finished for him, her voice dangerously calm. Yes. As the official report stated. Ambassador Krell's tail lashed with agitation. Your Highness, had we known the extent of your modifications, we would not have presumed to waste your valuable time. A deadly silence fell over the nearby guests. Barrett saw Zara's hand tightened almost imperceptibly around her ceremonial goblet, though her face remained impassive as a cybernetic spine. So different from your people's ceremonial battle scars, Ambassador, she asked evenly, or does your son only value warriors who emerge from battle unscathed? Tark's scales darkened with what Barrett assumed was the Soran equivalent of an embarrass, a red flush. The royal bloodlines must remain pure, Your Highness. Surely you understand tradition. I understand survival, Zara replied. in duty, both of which I fulfilled on Proxima Centauri while your ships maintained a safe distance from the conflict." The ambassador pulled his son back with a sharp gesture. "We meant no offense. If you'll excuse us." As they retreated, Barrett moved closer to Zara's side. Diplomatic incident avoided by approximately 2 centimeters. He observed quietly. The corner of Zara's mouth twitched. "You think I was too harsh? I think you showed remarkable restraint by not putting that goblet through his skull." A genuine laugh escaped her before she could suppress it, drawing startled looks from nearby courtiers. "Perhaps humans aren't entirely without merit as companions," she said just loudly enough for those nearby to hear. Lord Vexus materialized at her other side, his ornate armor gleaming. "Cousin, you're causing quite a stir. The Arcturian delegation is offended that you're speaking so freely with your security detail." "The Arcturians can join the extensive list of those I've offended today," Zara replied. She handed her goblet to a passing servant. "I believe I'll take some air on the western balcony. Barrett, accompany me." As they moved through the crowd, Barrett noticed the not-so-subtle way guests parted before them, conversations dying as they passed. Some looked at Zara with pity, others with barely concealed revulsion. None of them seemed to see the proud warrior. He was beginning to recognize the western balcony overlooked the capital city, its crystalline towers reflecting the light of the setting sun. Zara braced her hands on the railing, the formal posture finally dropping from her shoulders. 15 more suitors have canceled their visits this week," she said, without preamble. "Apparently word of my abomination has spread quickly." Barrett leaned against the adjacent railing. "Their loss." She shot him a sharp look. "You mock me?" "Not at all. I've seen you train. Any warrior would be fortunate to fight alongside you, cybernetics or not." Zara studied him with those unsettling golden eyes. "You are not what I expected from a human mercenary." Whatever response Barrett might have offered was cut short by the sharp crack of an entered weapon from the gardens below. His combat instincts kicked in instantly, and he tackled Zara to the ground as a bolt of superheated plasma sizzled through the space where she had been standing. "Contact." Barrett barked into his western balcony sniper in the southern gardens. Rolling smoothly to his feet, he drew his sidearm while pulling Zara behind a decorative column. 2 more shots impacted the balcony railing, sending fragments of crystal flying. "Stay down," he ordered quickly, assessing the situation. To his surprise, Zara had already drawn a concealed blade from her formal attire. "There are 3 of them," she said, with cool precision, moving through the lower terraces. Barrett risked a glance over the balcony edge. She was right. 3 figures in active camouflage were advancing up the garden path, their outlines barely visible against the foliage. "Palace security will be bottlenecked at the main doors," he said, calculating. "We need an alternate route service." "Corridor eastern wall," Zara replied immediately. "It connects to the royal apartment. I'll cover our retreat. Stay in my shadow." They moved together with surprising synchronicity, Barrett laying down suppressing fire while Zara kept watch on their flank. It was like partnering with a seasoned combat veteran rather than a royal charge. When one of the attackers appeared suddenly at the balcony entrance, Zara's thrown blade caught them in the shoulder before Barrett could even adjust his aim. They reached the service corridor just as palace alarms began blaring inside the narrow passage. Barrett paused to check Zara for injuries. "I'm unharmed," she said, already checking her blade for damage, "though I fear my formal reception is quite thoroughly ruined despite the circumstances." Barrett found himself smiling at her dry delivery. "I wouldn't worry, Princess. I doubt the Saurians will be eager for a second conversation anyway." As royal guards flooded the corridors around them, Zara's golden eyes met his with newfound respect. "Perhaps, Barrett Mercer, this assignment will be more interesting than either of us anticipated." Dawn broke over the royal training grounds. As Barrett dodged a precisely aimed strike from Zara's training staff, the princess moved with lethal grace, her cybernetic spine allowing for maneuvers that would have been impossible even for her species. "Natural physiology. Your defensive posture is unusual," she observed, circling him. "Not standard human military." Barrett adjusted his grip on his own staff, adapted from 3 different combat systems. "Humans don't have your natural armor or strength. We compensate with adaptability." Lead he demonstrated by shifting suddenly into an offensive stance and launching a series of strikes that momentarily pushed Zara back. She recovered quickly and analyzing his technique with obvious interest. Fascinating show. Me that sequence again. For the past week they had fallen into this routine training at dawn before court duties began. What had started as Zara's assessment of his capabilities had evolved into a mutual exchange of combat techniques. Barrett found himself impressed not just by her physical prowess, but by her tactical mind. The assassins from the reception, he said. Between exchanges, have you received the intelligence report? Zara executed a perfect counter-strike mercenaries, hired through a shell corporation with ties to the Proxima system, the same system where you were injured. She paused, golden eyes narrowing. You suspect a connection. I suspect everything. It's why I'm still alive. Barrett lowered his staff. Your cousin seemed unusually interested in the investigation details. Lord Vexus has always been politically motivated. She acknowledged carefully. Their conversation was interrupted as Commander Vex entered the training ground. The loyal guard's posture was rigid with obvious disapproval. Princess, the Council of Elders has requested your presence. The Arawan delegation is departing and wishes to formally withdraw their marriage candidate. Zara's expression hardened. The fifth withdrawal this week. Very well. As they walked toward the council chambers, Barrett noticed the whispers that followed them. Court officials and servants alike staring at the princess with a mixture of pity and revulsion. One conversation in particular caught his attention. Unnatural. No worthy warrior would bond with machine parts. Heard the human doesn't seem to mind. Perhaps their standards are lower. Barrett stopped abruptly, turning to face the two Valerian nobles. Care to repeat that assessment? The nobles stiffened, clearly not expecting to be confronted. This is not your concern, human, when it affects the security of my charge. It is. Barrett's voice remained calm, but his eyes had gone cold. Princess, Zara took a plasma blast that would have killed 12 of your warriors. The only unnatural thing I see is the lack of respect for her sacrifice. A crowd had gathered, shocked at the human's boldness. Commander Vex watched with an unreadable expression. You overstep your bounds. One noble hiss and you underestimate your princess. Barrett replied, a mistake your enemies won't make twice. He turned to find Zara watching him, her expression a complex mixture of surprise and something deeper. Without acknowledging the stunned silence, she simply continued toward the council chambers. Later, as they stood outside the council's doors, she spoke quietly. No one has defended my honor like that since before my injury. Barrett met her gaze steadily. I stated facts. Your people's prejudice doesn't change them. For the first time Zara smiled at him without reservation or royal pretense. A warrior's smile, genuine and rare. Perhaps humans understand honor better than we thought. The royal archives were silent save for the soft hum of data terminals. Barrett reviewed security footage from the assassination attempt, searching for details palace security might have missed. Beside him, Zara analyzed communication records from the weeks before the attack. There's a pattern, she said, gesturing to the display. Encrypted transmissions from the palace to an off-world relay, always within hours of my schedule. Changes. Barrett leaned closer. Someone inside is feeding information to the assassins. Their proximity was intimate by Valerian standards. Barrett noticed Zara didn't pull away as most of her kind would from a non-Valerian. The scent of her was unfamiliar but not unpleasant, something like heated metal and exotic spice. We need to set a trap, he suggested. Feed false information through suspected channels. Before Zara could respond, the archive doors slid open. Advisor Ninth entered, stopping short at the sight of them huddled over the same console. Your Highness, she said, disapproval evident. The Succession Council is requesting updated medical scans before the ceremony. More scrutiny of my imperfection. Zara's voice was sharp. Merely protocol. Princess Nai's eyes flickered to Barrett. Perhaps discussions of such sensitive matters should exclude outsiders. After the advisor departed, Zara's shoulders slumped slightly. They hoped to find a reason to disqualify me. If my cybernetics show any signs of affecting my cognitive functions, they could bypass me in the succession. Is that what happened on Proxima Centauri? A cognitive lapse? Barrett asked carefully. The princess went still. You've been investigating my injury. It's my job to understand all threats. The official report has inconsistencies. The silence stretched between them, heavy with unspoken tension. Finally, Zara activated a privacy shield around the terminal. What I tell you cannot leave this room.
Her golden eyes bore into his. Injury wasn't sustained in glorious battle as the official records state. Barrett waited, sensing the magnitude of what she was about to reveal. It was an assassination attempt in my private quarters. Someone I trusted got close enough. Her hand unconsciously touched her spine, where metal met scale. The royal family couldn't admit someone had breached inner security, so they created the Proxima Centauri cover story. The implications were immediate and severe. The same people could be behind the current attempts. Yes, and they know exactly where my cybernetics are vulnerable. Their conversation was interrupted by a violent explosion that shook the archive. Alarms blared as the lights flickered and died, replaced by emergency illumination. Palace breach, Barrett said, drawing his weapon. We need to move. They navigated darkened corridors where panicked staff fled in the opposite direction. A figure emerged from the smoke ahead, armored, and moving with tactical precision. Barrett shoved Zara behind a column just as plasma fire scorched the wall beside them. 3 o'clock, she whispered, already drawing her own weapon. Working in tandem, they flanked and neutralized the attacker, but not before. Barrett took a grazing hit to his shoulder as they secured themselves in a defensible storage room. Zara examined his wound. The shot penetrated your armor, she said, her fingers surprisingly gentle as they probed the damaged tissue. I've had worse. Barrett winced as she applied a sealing agent from her belt pouch. Because of your protection, so have I. Her eyes met his, something unspoken passing between them. The proximity, the adrenaline, the shared danger pushed them towards something neither had acknowledged for a heartbeat. They leaned toward each other, then both pulled back simultaneously, years of their respective training reasserting control. We should keep moving, Barrett said, voice rougher than before. Zara nodded, but her eyes lingered on his face with new awareness. Yes, and Barrett, now you know why I requested a human protector. Your people don't have our prejudices about cybernetics or our blind spots about internal threats. The secure royal medical facility hummed with technology as Elder Kath examined the data from Zara's cybernetic spine. Barrett stood guard nearby, his shoulders still tender from the previous day's attack. The targeting was precise. Kath observed, enlarging a holographic section of Zara's spine. Had the blast hit here, he indicated a particular junction, the entire system would have failed catastrophically. They knew exactly where to aim, Zara concluded, just as they did during the first attempt. The elder's crest flattened in concern. Princess, these attacks suggest intimate knowledge of your cybernetics. Very few have access to such information. My cousin does, she said quietly, as next in line after me. Lord Vexus has full access to my medical file. Barrett had suspected as much since reviewing the evidence. We need proof before making accusations against a royal family member. After the elder departed, Zara activated the room's privacy shields. There's more. The succession ceremony requires me to secure a political match within the next 15 days, or my claim can be legitimately challenged by Vexus, Barrett stated. Yes, he knows no suitable warrior will bond with someone they consider defective. Her voice remained steady, but Barrett caught the momentary flash of pain in her eyes. They spent the next hours reviewing security footage, searching for connections between Vexus and the assassins. Their investigation took them to the lower levels of the palace, where ancient data archives were stored. These records show unusual financial transfers from Vexus's accounts, Barrett noted, displaying the evidence routed through 3 different systems but ultimately ending at the same shell corporation that hired your attackers. Zara's expression hardened. He's always resented that I was chosen for succession despite being female. My injury gave him the perfect opportunity. We still need definitive proof that will convince the council. As they worked, the space between them seemed to shrink. Each shared glance lasted slightly longer than necessary, each accidental touch lingering. Barrett found himself increasingly aware of her presence, the subtle sounds of her cybernetic spine, the gleam of her scales in the dim light. The Valerian succession laws, Zara said suddenly, accessing an ancient text. There's something about acceptable matches. She froze as she read further. By the ancient stars. What is it? There's a provision rarely invoked that allows for matches outside the approved species list in times of conflict or succession crisis. Her golden eye widened. It was included after the Third Galactic War, when suitable partners were scarce. The implication hung in the air between them. Would your people accept such an interpretation? Barrett asked carefully. They would resist, but legally they could not forbid it, She looked up at him, vulnerability showing beneath her warrior's composure. But there are laws forbidding royalty from bonding with those considered lesser species, humans being among those less species, Barrett concluded. Yes. Zara's voice softened, though I'm beginning to question many of my people's assumptions. The tension between them grew electric. Barrett moved closer, defying years of training about professional distance. These past weeks, he began. I've seen a warrior. Any species would respect cybernetics. Don't define your worth. Her hand rose hesitantly to touch his face, tracing the scar that ran from temple to jaw. And I've seen honor. I didn't expect from a human. The security alarm shattered the moment warning of an intrusion. At the archive entrance, they moved instantly to defensive positions, weapons drawn. Palace security is compromised, Barrett said, checking access points. We need to retreat to a secure location. As they moved through a maintenance corridor, pursuing footsteps growing closer, Zara pulled him into an alcove. For a breathless moment they stood pressed together in the darkness, close enough that he could feel the heat radiating from her scales. If we survive this, she whispered, we must discuss these forbidden possibilities. Then, with the adrenaline of danger flowing through them both, she pressed her lips to his in a kiss that defied centuries of Valerian tradition. It was brief but intense, a warrior's promise. When they separated, Barrett saw new determination in her eyes. Now, she said, readying her weapon, let's survive long enough to scandalize my entire species. The Grand Council chamber fell silent as Lord Vexus strode to the center of the floor. 6 days remained until the succession ceremony, and the tension in the room was palpable. Royal advisors, elders, and representatives from allied systems watched from tiered seating as Vexus raised his ceremonial staff. Honored council, he began, his voice carrying effortlessly. It is with regret that I must invoke the ancient right of succession challenge. Murmurs rippled through the assembly. Barrett, standing at the chamber's perimeter, caught Zara's eye across the room. She gave an almost imperceptible nod. They had anticipated this move. My cousin, Princess Zara, approaches her succession without having secured a suitable match as required by our laws, Vexus continued. Furthermore, her modifications raise concerns about the purity of future royal bloodlines. Elder Kaith rose slowly from his seat. The princess's service to our empire is unquestioned. Her injuries were sustained in honorable combat, and yet Vexus countered smoothly. No warrior of standing has accepted her hand. Our laws are clear. A successor must demonstrate the ability to continue the royal lineage with a match of suitable status. Barrett watched Zara's face carefully. They had discussed this probability during the past days, analyzing potential counter-moves. Now he waited for her signal, knowing their carefully constructed plan would shock the assembly. Instead, Vexus introduced an unexpected gambit. I move that Princess Zara be given one final opportunity to secure a match before the succession. His scaled lips curled into what might have been a smile. Each in trial of worthiness. Any who would stand as her consort must prove their value through combat and cunning. A calculated move. Vexus knew no suitable candidate would volunteer, leaving Zara automatically disqualified. The princess rose, her posture regal. Despite the obvious trap, I accept these terms. Then let any worthy suitor step forward, Vexus announced to the silent chamber, though I suspect none will risk their bloodlines. For I will stand as candidates. Barrett's voice cut through the chamber as he stepped forward. The assembly erupted. Nobles rose from their seats in outrage. Ambassador Rout, representing interests, looked horrified. Vexus' expression shifted from triumph to shock, then calculating rage. This is sacrilege, someone shouted. A human cannot stand this. Royal consort, ancient law permits any warrior of proven valor to undertake the trials. Elder Kaith interjected, his voice steady as he consulted the sacred texts. There is precedent, though not in 10 generations. Vex's scales darkened with fury. This human is a mercenary, a hired blade. He has no standing among our people. I have standing with your princess, says near the arenas. Edgeways watched with unreadable scowl. His voice, low and menacing, reached a hidden
communicator. Initiate modification. Delta. I want his sensors confused and his footing uncertain. He must be eliminated. As the trial proceeded, subtle riggings began to shift the course's energy. Fields pulsed unpredictably and hidden blades flickered into view. Barrett's focus sharpened with each unexpected twist. They're playing dirty, he noted, barely audible over the roar of the crowd. Zara's eyes darkened. "Your cousin's doing this, isn't it?" she hissed, anger intermingled with worry. "I always suspected his hand in things," Barrett replied. "But I'll adjust. We always do during a pause between trials." The pair found a moment of reprieve in a secluded alve. Zara, removing a gloved hand to reveal the subtle pulse of her cybernetic spine, said softly, "Every strike today proves more than just your combat skill. It shows that honor and cunning can defy RW's strength." Barrett rested a hand on her shoulder. "I'm not here to merely survive. They want a spectacle. I intend to turn that spectacle into a statement." Their conversation was interrupted by a sudden clamor in the arena. "Final trial. The labyrinth of blood," announced the master of ceremonies. The arena darkened as holographic projections of twisting corridors filled the space. Barrett's pulse quickened, not from fear but anticipation. "This is where strategy meets chaos," he stated. Zara's voice, firm yet tender, reached him once more. "Stay close and trust your instincts. I believe in you." Inside the labyrinth, Barrett encountered challenges that defied even his quick wits, a series of ambushes by genetically enhanced Valerian warriors and shifting walls meant to disorient him. At one crucial juncture, a disguised opponent lunged from the darkness. Barrett parried with a low, steady tone, "Not today." As sparks flew from clashing weapons, his mind raced, adapting to the erratic rhythm of his foes. "Barrett, you've got them on the run," came Zara's support over the comm. "They're not expecting your human unpredictability." Moments later, as Barrett emerged battered but triumphant, the arena fell silent for a heartbeat. Then slowly murmurs of approval rippled through the spectators. Even some of Zara's hardened warriors exchanged impressed glances back in the private antechamber. Zara confronted him, her tone mix of relief and fierce determination. "You turned every trap into your advantage, but tell me, did you feel that the extra rigging, the sudden misfires? My cousin's hand is in every move." Barrett's jaw tightened. "I felt it. They tampered with the trials to seal my fate. But every illegal modification only fueled my determination." She stepped closer, her voice dropping to a conspiratorial whisper. "Every time you defied their expectations, I fell further for you. In the midst of this chaos, I see strength that transcends our differences. Then, let's keep pushing back," he replied softly. "We'll turn his treachery into our triumph." As the day trials ended, exhausted yet unbowed, the whispers in the arena began to shift. Some Valerian, once staunch in their prejudices, now eyed the human champion with a dawning respect. Barrett and Zara, amidst bruises and sweat, exchanged determined looks. "Tomorrow may bring more danger," Zara stated, adjusting her armor. "But together we are more than the sum of our parts." Barrett smiled wryly. "Then let the next trial come. Promise I'll be ready under the cover of twilight." Barrett and Zara convened in a hidden chamber deep within the palace archives. The soft hum of ancient data cores filled the air as they pored over encrypted files. "Look here," Zara said, tapping a series of luminous schematics on a holographic display. "These modifications, calibrated to target the cybernetic junctions, match exactly the damage inflicted during your cousin's first strike against me." Barrett leaned closer, his brow furrowed. "So he engineered my injury too?" he asked, voice edged with disbelief. "Yes," Zara replied, her tone grim. "It was never honor or combat. It was murder by design. And these transfers, routed through his shell corporation, are the financial lifeblood of his scheme." Before they could speak further, the chamber door slid open silently. Advisor Neith, whose gentle demeanor had once earned their trust, entered with a cordial smile. "Princess Zara." "Barrett Mercer," she began, her tone overly polite. "The council requires our immediate presence to review updated succession reports." Zara's eyes narrowed ever so slightly. "We were just finalizing evidence for the council regarding the assassination plot." Neith's smile faltered momentarily. "I'm afraid that evidence is classified for now. You must come with me." Barrett exchanged a wary glance with Zara, but as they rose, hidden figures emerged from the shadows. "Step aside," a voice commanded. Before either could react, rough hands gripped them. "You've endangered the sanctity of our royal lineage," spat a stern-faced guard as Barrett was roughly pulled away. "Advisor Neith," Zara demanded, shocked turning to disbelief. As the trusted advisor's expression hardened, "The council has decided that you are fit for your role," Neith declared coldly. "Your association with this interloper, Barrett Mercer, contaminates our bloodlines." Barrett struggled, his voice rising in protest. This is treachery. I am a warrior. My actions speak for themselves, but the guard's grip was unyielding. Your words are of no consequence. You are to be detained until further notice. Separated by armed escorts, Zara was dragged toward a containment cell while Barrett was confined in a high-security Asian chamber in the dim, sterile room. Barrett's thoughts churned with betrayal and bitter irony. They accused me of polluting royal bloodlines. He muttered to himself. I've risked my life defending this princess, and now they call me unworthy. Meanwhile, in her cell, Zara's voice trembled as she spoke into a concealed calm. Barrett, if you can hear me, trust your instincts. We must find a way out and expose Vexus and for what they truly are. Her voice was resolute even as cold metal bars separated her from the rest of the palace in his cell. Barrett recalled every moment of prejudice. Zara had faced whispered insults, the stinging looks of disdain. Now he too felt the crushing weight of such rejection. They underestimate human spirit. He vowed aloud, clenching his fists. I will not let their ignorance win ours. Passed with only the sound of his measured breathing and the hum of the security systems. Then unexpectedly a guard approached, his tone low and urgent. Mercer, follow me if you value your life. Barrett's heart pounded. Who are you? He demanded. Way, I'm not like the others. The guard whispered. There are those within the palace who believe in truth. Follow me. As he was led through a labyrinth of corridors, the guard explained quietly. The betrayal runs deep. The evidence you and Princess Zara uncovered has unsettled many, and not everyone wishes to see change. You must hurry and regroup with your princess before they silence you both. Outside, Zara, despite her confinement, continued to rally her inner strength. I will not be silenced, she declared softly to herself. I must reach Barrett. Our people must know the truth. Barrett's escape, though fraught with danger, became the spark of hope in the midst of betrayal. I'll find a way back to you, Zara, he promised under his breath, determination hardening his features. Even if they label me unworthy, I will prove that honor and truth know no species. In a hidden service tunnel beneath the palace, Barrett emerged into a cold moonlit corridor. Time to show them what a human is capable of, he murmured, recalling every lesson in unconventional warfare. Using scavenged tools and his mercenary ingenuity, he disabled security locks with swift, precise movements. His calm crackled to life. Barrett, do you copy? Zara's voice, strained but defiant, broke through. I've managed to free a small contingent of supporters from within the palace. They believe in a new way, one that honors strength of spirit over ancient dogma. Good, he replied quietly. I'm making my way to your cell. Hold on. Barrett's escape was a blur of silent corridors and unexpected skirmishes. At one point a guard intercepted him, but with a swift feint and a well-placed strike, Barrett incapacitated him. It's not brute force, it's strategy, he remarked wryly as he moved deeper into the labyrinth of palace back passages. Meanwhile, within her cell, Zara's rally had begun. Fellow warriors, she addressed a small band of disillusioned palace guards gathered discreetly near a service hatch. Our traditions no longer serve us. I ask you, join me in challenging the old ways. A gruff guard responded. We've seen the corruption. We're with you, princess. Another added, your courage is our hope. With their help, Zara managed to override her cell locks, her voice ringing clear in the echoing halls. Find Barrett. He's our key to exposing the treachery that runs this palace. Back in the tunnels, Barrett finally reached a maintenance shaft leading directly to the central control room. There he paused as he intercepted encrypted messages detailing Lord Vex's orchestration of the assassination plots and the illegal tampering with the trials. This is it, he whispered, proof that ties him to remove. Just then an alarm blared, summoning the cousin's elite guard. Barrett, you're cornered, snarled a voice over the intercom. But Barrett's mind was already racing. I'll give them a fight. They'll never forget. Rejoining Zara in a long echoing corridor, the two warriors exchanged a fierce nod. We stand together, Zara declared. Let them come. Their voices merged as they faced the approaching guards. For honor, Barrett shouted, his weapon raised. For truth, Zara countered, her blade gleaming with deadly intent. In the ensuing chaos, their fighting styles complemented each other seamlessly. Barrett's unorthodox agile strikes danced with Zara's disciplined, precise counters. Your techniques are unpredictable, human, Zara remarked between clashes. Barrett grinned, And your cybernetic prowess leaves little room for error, Princess. Their combined assault forced the guards to yield ground as the corridor erupted in a meloque of clashing metal and shouted commands. The evidence Barrett carried was broadcast to hidden terminals throughout the palace. Now they will see, he murmured, that our strength is not defined by purity, but by the courage to defy injustice. As words spread through the ranks, even some of the most rigid warriors began questioning the old dogma. If imperfection breeds resilience, one guard said, lowering his weapon, then maybe we have been wrong all along. In the heart of the turmoil, Zara and Barrett advanced toward the central throne room, the arena of final judgment. It's time for a reckoning, Zara stated, her voice resolute in a revolution of perception. Barrett added, his tone unwavering, as they prepared to confront Lord Vexus himself. The royal council chamber was filled to the brim as ancient traditions clashed with the new wave of dissent. At the head of the room, Lord Vexus stood, his imposing figure marred by the revelations now openly displayed on every hollow screen. You dare challenge centuries of law? He thundered, his voice echoing off the vaulted ceilings. Barrett stepped forward, his tone calm but resolute. I dare, because honor isn't measured by blood purity or unblemished tradition, it's proven in the crucible of battle and the strength of one's character. Zara's voice rang out clear and unyielding. The evidence is irrefutable. My injury was not a mark of cowardice, but a targeted attempt on my life, engineered by my own cousin to eliminate me from succession. Murmurs swept the chamber. A council elder interjected, these are grave accusations. Where is the proof? Barrett held up the encrypted files now illuminated before them. Here lies the chain of transactions and the schematics of the tampered trials. This is the work of corruption, a betrayal of the very honor we claim to uphold. Lord Vexus' eyes narrowed. Dangerous lay. You speak of treason, as if it were a game. Zara stepped closer, her gaze unwavering. It is no game, cousin. It is the end of an era built on prejudice and fear. Our traditions must evolve to recognize the valor of those who fight for truth regardless of their origin. The council erupted in a flurry of voices, some shocked, others emboldened by the undeniable proof. A respected elder, his voice trembling yet determined, declared, perhaps it is time to consider that strength may come from imperfection, and that true honor lies in the spirit of the warrior, not the perfection of the body. Barrett exchanged a meaningful glance with Zara. For too long, our people have clung to outdated notions of purity, but we stand here as living proof that resilience and innovation are the true marks of greatness. A murmur of agreement spread among the council members. Even some of the most conservative voices hesitated before nodding slowly. What do you propose? Asked one dignitary. Zara smiled, a soft yet triumphant expression. We propose a new tradition, one where warriors are celebrated, not for unblemished perfection, but for their courage, ingenuity and unwavering honor. The chamber fell silent as the council deliberated. After what felt like an eternity, the head elder spoke once more. In light of these revelations and the undeniable spirit displayed by both a human and a Valkan, I hereby decree that the ancient laws be revised. Henceforth warriors shall be honored for their deeds, not the purity of their bloodlines. Applause broke out among many, while a few dissenting voices faded into reluctant acceptance. Vex's fury was palpable, but even he could not deny the truth of what had been revealed. So be it. He growled, his authority crumbling in the face of overwhelming support for change. Later, in a quiet moment away from the pomp of the council, Zara and found themselves alone amid the flickering light of the palace's new era. Do you realize what we've done? Zara whispered, her hand resting on Barrett's arm. Barrett's eyes softened as he replied, we've shown that honor is not a relic of the past but a living force that adapts just as we do. In that tender silence, their union was no longer a scandal but a symbol, a beacon of a future where differences were celebrated and strength redefined together. Zara said softly, we have forged a new tradition. Barrett smiled, leaning in closer, and together we will defend it with every breath. As the palace embraced its rebirth and the empire began to see that diversity was its true power, the alliance between human and Valerian was celebrated, not as an aberration, but as a new chapter in the saga of honor and unity.